Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, we're going to talk about Ukraine, and we're going to talk about why Ukraine is super important for the United States, for the entire world, right? There's some really good news about Ukraine that just popped up. And what I want to do in this video is I want to hopefully peel back the curtain to the energy that is happening sort of behind the scenes, right? So we all know what we see in the newspapers and what the pundits say and that kind of thing. What I want to do is I want to help you understand what is happening under that, behind those closed doors, behind those, institutions, what is really happening. So I'm going to tell you some really good news about Ukraine, and that is that NATO has decided that, indeed, all the members of NATO have decided that Ukraine will be able to enter NATO at some point. Now, this, folks, is a really big deal. Now, on the surface of it, it's a really big deal. But, of course, because we've been waiting, we've been like Rip Van Winkle, right, of justice. That is basically justice has turned into Rip Van Winkle. And, it seems like we're always telling you guys, good things are happening, good things are happening. And truth be told, we really want to see the outcome. We want to see with our own eyes the good things that are happening. And I would say to you, this is a really good thing. All the members of NATO have said, Ukraine, come on, little brother, little sister, come on and join us. Now, we have to, what they're saying is, and I'm talking to my spirit guides as I do this video, and what the spirit guides are saying is, we have to hurry up and wait. Hurry up and wait. The good news is that we have everybody on the same page. The bad news is it's going to take a little bit longer. And when you have a situation like this, where there's actual war being waged, time means, unfortunately, tragedy, travesty, lives lost. So that's terrible. But honestly, it hasn't been for naught. Okay. There's been a lot of wars, a lot of tragedies that's just been senseless. And in the end result, there's no justice. There's no nothing, right? It's like, why did all this happen? In this case, Ukraine is going to get all of its land back, even the land that it was annexed. All of it is going to come back. Crimea, everything is going to come back to them. Many of those bad actors are going to be investigated and brought to justice. Now, of course, I don't see Putin getting investigated and brought to justice. I think Putin is going to go by the way of Hitler. I think he's going to be in a very pathetic. You have to be a little careful here, because he is a he is a big energy, and he these countries use psychics. They use psychics like they use infantry. So I have to be a little careful here. But I would just say that I see him possibly expiring, quite possibly of his own hand, or of his own hand, with the energy of energy coming and knocking on the door to get him. Okay, like taking that honor away from them, in a sense, right? So I see that happening. I also want to talk about the important part of this, is that this is the part where I want to peel back the curtain. I want to show you guys why this is so important, above and beyond how important it is that Ukraine get their sovereignty and get their lives back and get their country back, and that we show a bully how, to put a bully in their place. You guys, this is called world order. This is world order. Russia made a play for Ukraine. Russia has made a play for all kinds of countries over there. And so far, Russia has enjoyed this sort of brotherly acceptance amongst the world order. They're on the Security Council. They're in these really high ranking worldwide bodies that govern countries, and they shouldn't be, especially because they've been they invaded Ukraine, years ago and took Crimea and took other parts, annexed them, right? They've done this to other countries. So we've allowed the bully to exist in our midst, and we've turned a blind eye, and now we're reaping the benefits of that, okay? So for these same countries, and we all know the countries that have been wink, wink, playing along with Russia, selling them things on the down low, creating those ghost fleets of ships that were that were not. So one of the things is that we put sanctions on Russia, and one of the sanctions was you can't get insurance on your ship if it's above a certain amount of money. That basically halted Russia from sending out its oil, sending out its valuable minerals and assets. So some countries created these ghost fleets that were bringing grain and all of these assets from Russia, despite the fact that they shouldn't have been doing that. And they got caught recently. They got their insurance taken away from them. So now they can't do that anymore. You have Russia, this is very credible reporting, and the guides say that it is true, flying into Africa and supplying arms for diamonds and gold and bringing that back to Russia to supply them with the money they need to operate. So you also have Russia not being able to buy things from certain countries because of the banks will not tender that transaction. So the sanctions have really started to work. Guess what? It took time. This is the problem. We all want everything now, but it has worked. It is now putting the kibosh even tighter around Russia. So now what you see is the NATO members saying, yeah, okay, let's bring Ukraine in. Now, we all know that this is supposedly the whole reason that Russia said Ukraine can't join NATO, because they didn't want a NATO country on their border. Well, now they have 2 more NATO countries on their border, right? Everybody along the Russian border is joining NATO post haste because Russia has acted like the bully. So what you see here, which is so important, is a complete rejiggering of world order. Truly, truly, truly. Everyone has finally said, and when I say everyone, I mean China, I mean Turkey, I mean even Iran has said, guess what? We don't want to go the way of Russia. Right? We don't want to be, Iran, you could say, is a pariah, but not really. They're sort of operating at a level that they're pretty comfortable with, right? Their people aren't, but they are. They have some respect within their collection of countries. Russia has no respect among any of the countries at this point. Everybody's bailing. Everybody can see the writing on the wall. When you have countries like Turkey and other countries like that bailing out of this support of Russia, it's over, folks. The writing is on the wall. But not only does it mean just simply that these countries are turning a blind eye to Russia or unfriending them on social media, it actually means that these countries are now turning toward the West. They're turning towards the West because you want to know what? The West is what helped Ukraine beat Russia. And I think now these countries realize, okay, the United States was a superpower. They got kind of knocked down a few times. Really and truly, our country took some pretty good hits, and we're still not over that. However, despite the fact that we have such a real pressure attack on our democracy, despite that, we were able to mobilize. And I say we, and you know who I'm talking about. President Biden was able to mobilize our support for Ukraine and then band together the other democratic countries to support Ukraine. And that has not gone unnoticed. Okay. So now it is like the energy, it feels like we've all been at war in some energetic way along with Ukraine. I don't want to diminish what Ukraine has gone through. If you guys watched my videos, you know that I'm a big fan of Ukraine. I have 3 videos about Ukraine that I channeled at the very beginning of this, and all 3 of them have come absolutely true, except for the timing. But every other part of the videos, exactly what the Russians did, what land they took, what land they gave back, everything has been right on the money. I do not mean to diminish what Ukraine has been through, but I want to say that when you pull back the curtain and you look at the energy, it's as if Ukraine and Russia were the physical manifestations of this bigger energy. And honestly, had it gone the wrong way, we would be, in big trouble. And so would all of the other democratic countries, because countries like China and India, which is a really large country, would really seek to have more leadership. And don't forget Saudi Arabia and all of those states. Those countries were eyeing the United States to see if we were going to trip and fall, and they could jump ahead of us. Not attack us. No, that's all a bunch of BS that China's going to attack us. That's crazy talk. We are their money. They own our debt. They own our farmland. I mean, why would they attack us? They're not going to attack us. They want to control us. They're not going to attack us. But what they would do is try to shift the monetary system to a different system from the dollar, right? That's what they would try to do. They would try to own us more. They would try to control us more. That's how it's energy, folks. It's not everything is physical. When astrologers say we're getting ready to go into the same planetary alignment that maybe the US was in during the Civil War or during, World War II. Yes, that's very true. And yes, we're going to feel that energy. People are going to be compelled to act in those ways, but it always manifests differently, because we're not the same people now that we were then. Believe it or not, as bad as it looks, we've actually ascended. Otherwise, if we hadn't ascended, you would really see a civil war. You would really see some of the atrocities that you saw in World War II, but you're not seeing that. Instead, you're seeing civil war energy in the sense that you have families that have been split apart, that some are pro-45 and some aren't. Some are pro-vaccine, some aren't. So you see that civil war energy in this way, that families are against each other. Neighbors are against each other. That is civil war energy. It's just manifesting in this other way, which, if you ask me, is much less horrendous, right, than the original way it manifested. So every time we get this lesson, we have another opportunity to learn it at a new vibrational level. We are at a new vibrational level. We're learning this lesson again, but differently than we did the first time. Now, we've not experienced this whole thing with the gun violence that we're experiencing now. I mean, even in the Wild West, you went to the tavern and you turned your pistol in. You know what I mean? I mean, they had stricter gun laws in the Wild West than we do now. So this is new. So we are struggling with this. This is something we haven't experienced. So, we're not experts at it. We're not good at it. We're learning. But going back to Ukraine, what I love about this energy is that this is the beginning of the end of this war. This is the beginning of the end of these bullies, of even, honestly, China, India, Saudi Arabia, Iran. All of this energy is going to start being shaken apart. I mean, they're sort of showing me a structure that gets shooken up, and if you shake a structure, well, think about an earthquake, right? The foundation is going to get unstable, and that whole structure might fall down. I don't know if you guys remember, if you've been watching me for a while, months ago, the guides were talking about dissolution, dissolving, structures dissolving. And here we are. I think we're finally getting close to that time when the structures are going to start being dissolved, because they're built on ideology that is not matching our current human energy. Okay, so you're going to see countries like Russia is going to start having internal problems, people protest, unrest. You're already seeing it in Iran. You're seeing it big time in Israel. And to a degree, you're seeing it in the United States. And I've seen this energy throughout the world. It's not just going to be my country or your country. It's going to be popping up all over the place, because the people have woken up out of that fever dream the guides often talk about. We've been asleep. We've been in a fever dream where we haven't been seeing things clearly, where we've been, literally just imagining things, and we haven't been sure about what is real and what isn't, and we're feverish. And the guide said the people are going to wake up out of this fever, and they're going to have very clear sight. They're going to have a dose of reality that is going to be so strong that it could be destabilizing. It could create anger at the foundations. And that is why these foundations, and I mean the foundations of your whatever that is, your court system, your elected officials, your law enforcement, your army, whatever that is, people are going to wake up like it's sort of like a hypnotist goes, wake up. And everybody wakes up and they're like, holy crap, this place is wrecked. This is trashed. My country is trashed, right? I don't like this. I don't want this. This is terrible. Why are we treating these people like this, right? So you're going to have this energy of people waking up and standing in the streets and voicing their displeasure. They're reminding me of France, right? The French people have done that. This is going to go on for a while until we knock down those structures and rebuild them the way we want them to be, the way that makes sense for us. Now, going back to Ukraine, and the guides have said this from the beginning, that it's like Ukraine in a way volunteered in a way, or was chosen, or whatever reason, Ukraine became the stand-in for the whole world. Ukraine is the one who said, no, maybe they never were hypnotized. Maybe they woke up before us and they said, no, this is our country. We're going to fight until the last one of us. And that's that. We have our heart and soul in this. And maybe perhaps Ukraine has woke us up. Maybe the passion of Ukrainian people have woken the rest of the world up that, hey, if they can do it, we can do it. If they can stand up to the bully, we can stand up to the bully, because that is the energy here. Bullies, these schoolyard bullies that used to just beat up kids and take their lunch money are now bringing weapons to school and doing things an order of magnitude worse. Why? Because we didn't deal with the bully. We did not deal with the bully energy. Well, here's scrappy Ukraine saying, we're going to deal with this bully energy. We're not putting up with this. We're not going to just let them walk in and take our country. No. And now the rest of the world has decided Ukraine won. It's like I'm seeing an arm wrestling match and I'm seeing Ukraine just taking Russia down and, holding their hands up. Won. Ukraine won. The rest of the world is saying, we are rubber stamping this. We are giving the Ukraine the medal. They've won. You guys, all the NATO members have decided that Ukraine can enter. Really? This is unbelievably big. And not only is it big because it means that this war is going to be over, in timing is terrible. Obviously, I suck at timing because I've gotten the timing wrong on this nonstop. And a lot of that has to do with free will, right? A lot of it has to do with the free will of a madman, and he doesn't care. He will, utilize his last person. He'll, you know what I mean? When I say utilize, I mean, he will run his country into the ground where it's absolutely not even recognizable, where it's not even viable as a country, right? He doesn't care. This is his ego. He's all completely in his ego. So I can't tell you when he's going to give up or when someone else is going to step in and take him out. But I can tell you that this NATO, this is a big deal because now everybody's decided that Russia's toast. I'm sorry. Putin can think that he's a big bully and he's a world power all he wants. But if the rest of the world doesn't think he's a world power, then he's not a world power. He's done. He's toast. So it's just a matter now of someone catching up with him and doing some sort of regime change. Now, I've talked about this before, what I see, because everything is so, this is a good thing to mention, actually, because everything is destabilized, right? When you talk about dissolution, when I was talking about this months and months ago, I was a little bit concerned about that word because when you have dissolving and dissolution, it's very destabilizing. It's almost like anarchy, right? It can be very unsettling. Now, I don't see the United States going to that point. To be honest with you, I feel like I just don't see it. I don't see the energy getting to that point here. I feel like, and I've always seen this, and I think this means the energy is very stable and very set. I see us getting perhaps close to the edge, but at the last minute, boom, something happens. Now, in the United States, what that means to me, what I've always seen is that these people are going to get arrested. We know who I'm talking about. All the people we always talk about, the Republican people that are involved in Jan 6 or involved in other things, they're going to be arrested. That comes later this fall. Those people being arrested is going to create a hue and cry, and that is a dissolution, is it not? That is dissolving of that power base, right? Now, when those people get arrested, I do see some backlash, but not like I did. If this would have all sped up and we would have arrested them a year after Jan 6, we right now would be in a civil war. Okay, so it was a good thing that we waited this long for everybody to cool off. And we know who we're talking about, the crazies. The crazies have now been arrested. They're doing time for Jan 6. They're not feeling too frisky right now. Let me tell you, they're not going to get out of that prison. The majority of them, 99% of them, are not going to get out of prison and grab their, bang bang thing and run into the streets. So this is as it should be. We had to diffuse the situation, and they've done that. They've diffused the situation. So in America, I don't see that happening. I think that once these people get arrested, what's going to happen is that they will have their day in court, and they will run around like chickens with their heads cut off and do some crazy things, which will make their court case even worse because they'll incriminate themselves even more. Then I see the same energy as the whole world coming together and saying, okay, we support Ukraine and NATO. We support Ukraine. Now, it's not the whole world. Of course, there's the bad actors out there, but the NATO countries are growing, getting more strong, and they're bringing Ukraine in, which strengthens that organization, which the guides predicted last year. It's the same energy here. People are going to recognize, I don't think that I want to be associated with McCarthy or MTG or Boebert or Jordan or Gates or any of those people, because I can see that they're about to go to jail. So I'm going to cut my ties with them, and I'm going to become more moderate, and I'm going to go across the aisle with the Democrats, and I'm going to clean up my reputation and clean up, my side of this mess so that I don't go to jail and so that I can be reelected. That's what I see happening. That's how we get through this. That is how we get through this. It's the only way to get through this. You've got to take them out. Once you take them out, then everybody else straightens up and acts right. And then they go bipartisan, and then the Dems carry on for 24. That is why I'm not freaking out too much about this. I've seen this for over 6 or 7, 8 months. And the longer the energy stays the same, the more set it is, right? It's like the guides are saying, you put your Jell-O, I swear to God, you put your Jell-O in the refrigerator and it's all jiggly wiggly. You pull it out, it's set. We're setting our Jell-O, okay? I can't believe they use that analogy because I don't even eat Jell-O. But anyway, whatever. So maybe one of you guys eat Jell-O. So going back to Ukraine, it's the same thing. These people, these countries have looked around and said, oh, snap, Russia's getting its butt beat. United States is gaining power. The Democrats are gaining power. Look what's happening to NATO. NATO is gaining power. Countries are coming into NATO. NATO is getting bigger and more powerful. Well, whose side would you be on? I mean, honestly, whose side would you be on? A country who's losing everything, or the NATO countries which are getting more power and gaining everything? So not only are the NATO countries getting more powerful and getting more powerful against Russia, but China's like, yeah, bro, you lost this fight. You lost this fight. We're going to have to sever our contract with you and good luck. That, frankly, is the death knell for Russia. China not supporting Russia is a death knell. Now, already China is getting oil at, bargain basement prices. They're already basically taking advantage of Russia's very weak position, and they will continue to do so, but they will not support them. They will not come out publicly and say, these big supportive statements. China is pulling back. China is going to sit back because one thing about China, they don't do anything in a rush. They plan on everything 100 years at a time, not 1 year, not 10 years, 100 years. They're looking down the road so far that that's how they make their decisions. So they can see the writing on the wall. Game over, Russia lost. Let me look down the road and see who the likely power centers are and how I can benefit from that, or gain more power against that country that is failing. So this thing is a big boon to Ukraine, but it is absolutely reconfiguring the world order, the power of individual countries. And in the outcome of this, the United States and their democratic allies and Ukraine have won this match. And this was a big one. This was on the order of magnitude of the World War II. Had the United States and the allies, and all of the allies, I mean, the Canada, the Britain, the Australia, I mean, all of the allies hadn't stepped up and helped Ukraine, you better believe that Russia would have marched right through Ukraine, right into Poland, right into some of these other countries. And we would be having World War III on our hands. But again, it didn't manifest because this is a different time. We humans are different humans. So whenever you hear those energy forecasts, keep it in mind that the energy can manifest in a lot of different ways, some bigger and some smaller. And you really have to allow for that. Okay. Okay, I hope this has been helpful or entertaining. Who knows what? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. I really appreciate you tuning into this video. If you enjoy my content, hit the subscribe button, join our very awesome group of viewers, because you never want to miss one of these videos, because there's a lot going on. There's much, much more happening now than ever before. A lot of justice is happening, and I'm going to be right there in the front seat of the show, telling you the play-by-play, behind the scenes, and what you see in the news as well. Take really good care, everybody. We'll see you soon. For entertainment purposes only.